Baby, ooh yeah. You know what I want to do?
You want to touch her with your pee-pee?
I want you to touch my pee-pee, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm
Very
Adam
white.
Lester. I'm here with Dan Arlen and Doug Adams.
And
The
Fuckstick
Doug Adams.
McGillicuddy.
And Fuckstick McGillicuddy. We were all just waxing philosophic about our various medical issues. As you get
Sucks
older,
being old.
you develop. We told Adam that when he hit 30, he'd get his mystery illness. Of course, Adam being Adam, he had to be an overachiever.
Yeah, he wanted to beat expectations.
I'm speed running it.
Yeah,
by
he's
the way,
speedrunning that shit.
His name is his Dick's name is Expectations. And I'm drinking a Diet Coke. So
Jesus Christ. You
Yeah,
fucking
no.
chasing it with Mentos?
right. Well, I've had stomach acid's been okay. I've had heartburn all day, and whenever I drink anything with carbonation, sometimes I will take pure baking soda and mix it in water and then drink it. Not the tastiest thing in the world, but it works. But do you remember the baking soda and vinegar?
I was going to ask if you make
volcanoes?
a volcano.
Yeah, buddy. I'll chug one of those down. I sit there for about 10 seconds. I'll start laughing because I know it's coming. I open my mouth and it's like out of a fucking movie.
Just foam.
No, I've never brought up foam, actually. I've always wondered why, that
You
I
don't have
haven't.
enough vinegar in there. You don't have enough
That's
vinegar.
what it is, right?
Yeah.
I need to change my mix.
Eat some
so.
pickles after you.
Well, you can use, you could use pickle juice, but you can use vinegar as a leavening, is that right? Leavening agent, like for baking. So, technically you could use pickle juice. So, pickle juice and baking soda. I don't know what that
Jesus
would
Christ, that sounds like the most disgusting bread ever.
Yeah, worst
Yeah.
pancakes ever, Dan.
You try that and let me know how it is.
Worst pancakes ever.
Worse, I know a bunch of people that they just love pickles. It's like, I like pickles on a thing or, on the side with a sandwich, have a dill spear. But I know people that they would just sit there and, eat half a dozen pickles like
I
they
could
were
do that.
eating candy.
Oh, yeah. I like,
could do
especially
that.
gherkins, little crunchy little gherkins.
Oh, yeah. I used to go get a big pickle. Like, if I'm ever at a sporting event and they're selling pickles, bro, I'm getting one. I'm getting one of the big fucking pickles.
I actually don't like the big pickles. I don't think that they, not ferment, but
They don't take in all the flavor the same way.
yeah, they don't pickle correctly. I don't think. That's
Yeah.
why I like the gherkins, is because they get all the way through. There was a place down in Florida, down on Marco Island. It was a restaurant. I can't remember the name of it, but they were. That's one of the things they did. They had these big barrels at the end of the salad, beginning and end of the salad bars, and that's what they were. They were just, and they'd go over and they'd like use this fucking paddle to stir them. And you just go in there with some tongs and get you a pickle. I will say they were pretty fucking good. So I've had some good pickles. I've had some shitty pickles. So
Nothing's worse than a shitty pickle.
I would
Tell
agree.
you what.
The old shitty pickle.
So they
Give
sell
'em-
this thing at most pharmacies called a fleet. Have you ever heard of it?
An enema?
Yeah, it'll help you avoid shitty pickles in the future.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I did not know what a fleet was, Doug. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just a
fleet
one-use enema.
enemas. Yeah.
One-use enema.
And you just use it and throw it away and just spray it. It's
Yeah.
just saline in a little dropper and you just spray it up your ass. And
Yeah, it's like Flonase for your butt.
yeah.
Enemas freaked me out when I was about, 10 years old. I think I've told this story before. My parents found some blood in the toilet. I didn't flush because I was a kid, And they found some blood in the toilet and put me through all these horrible fucking tests. And they're like, oh, your son has colon cancer at 10 years old and shit. And then when they found
I'm sorry, it's not
absolutely, no, it is funny 30 years later, right? 37 years later. And then after all was said and done, they were just like, oh, we don't know, change toilet papers or something. So it turns out that I have been prone to hemorrhoids since I was a kid, right? And now I know that, but I remember my parents having to give me enemas, like, probably a half dozen of them or more, before I went to the hospital and had to do this barium enema, right?
Those are fun.
Yeah, yeah. So
I had
they
to do
pumped
it
me
the other way.
to drink it. I've drank it
Yeah.
too. I would, I mean, it's some foul tasting shit, but anytime you give me the opportunity of either ingesting it that way or sticking it up my ass, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna choose ingesting it,
Did you tell him
orally.
at the hospital? Bury him. Barely know him.
Barely know him. No, because I was too young and I didn't understand stupid puns back then, but I guarantee I would now.
Missed
Um,
opportunity.
yeah, definitely. My first childhood trauma was missing out on that pun. So yeah, and they filled me up with barium, and like I thought my insides were gonna explode, and they just kept pumping it in. Maybe that was because they needed to, or maybe because we were in a hospital in the middle of fucking nowhere that was probably full of vets that flunked out of fucking vet school. Um, Horrible fucking
Well, this is
hospital.
how much we
yeah.
put in a horse. It should work.
Yeah, right. Right. And humans are kind of like horses. So, yeah, it was terribly, terribly, terribly painful and uncomfortable. So, the idea of an enema now makes me kind of cringe. And I've had chicks throughout the years, that want to do the butt play. They want to take a finger to the butt or something. I'm like, nope. No, I have anal trauma there, sweetheart. You touch my asshole and I'm going to start swinging. So, sorry, ladies. No touchy Dan's
Well,
rosebud.
lucky for them. If they touch you at all, they're touching an asshole.
But bumps.
There you go.
There you go. That was actually pretty good, though. So, but yeah, we were discussing medical issues. I'm trying a new drug for my ADHD, which I think should be called dopamine dysregulation syndrome. I actually wanted to go with dopamine dysregulation disorder, but then that's triple D. And
yeah, you'd rather it be a dentist than boobs. I got it.
Yeah, if I have a DDS as opposed to a DDD. So, learning about all of the physical and psychological issues that you go through when your dopamine doesn't know what the fuck it wants to do one day to the next. But it's for the medicine that I'm on is for Parkinson's. And when I didn't think about it, I put it out on Facebook. I was like, hey, has anybody been on whatever the hell it's called? I can't remember now. And
oh, I know what it's called because of the joke that was made.
Oh yeah, what was it?
Amantadine.
Amantadine. Yeah, because somebody asked me, isn't that what Jeffrey Dahmer prepared at the table? Because it's spelled a man to dine, and which is again kind of funny actually. But yeah, several people hit me up in the background and were like, dude, are you okay? And I was like, well, no.
Dude,
I mean,
the perfect response would have been just fucking random letters. Just send them.
Or a quick video of me just.
A very blurry photo of you where it's obvious the camera's in motion.
It reminds me, there's an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which I'm not a huge fan of in general. I don't think it's like not funny. It's just not my kind of humor. But they did have one where Michael J. Fox was on there. And for those of you who don't know, that's what Michael J. Fox has is Parkinson's disease. And one of the symptoms is the shaking, right? And they have actually correlated that shaking with a lack of dopamine. Your brain doesn't have enough dopamine and your nerves start to fire completely out of order, like, with no rhyme or reason. So anyway, Michael J. Fox is on there, and what's the guy's name from Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Larry David, the main
Larry
guy?
David, yeah. And he's in his building or lives in his building, and there's some animosity between the two of them. And at one point, Michael J. Fox is like, "Can I get you something to drink?" And
Oh, yeah,
Larry
I
David's
remember
like,
the scene.
"Yeah, sure." And he brings him a soda. And he goes to open the soda, and of course it explodes everywhere. And Michael J. Fox just shrugs and goes, Parkinson's, and walks away. And I just thought that was one of the funniest fucking, bits in a long time. And I feel like I'd be the same way. We all joke about our ADHD, and my ADHD definitely causes me a lot of challenges. I believe it's the core of my anxiety and the panic attacks and shit like that. But you got to joke about it. And I think really with any ailment, I don't care if you have fucking cancer, at some point you've got to seeing humor in something. What do they say, Doug? Humor is tragedy plus time.
Sure.
Or something like that. And I figured you'd know because
that is a saying. Tragedy plus time is comedy.
It's comedy, right? Yeah. And I will tell you that I know the three of us, for instance, the shit that we find funny is typically pretty wrong.
We just forget the time part.
Yeah.
Too soon.
It literally just happened at him.
Well, I'm literally still bleeding, buddy.
There's an active shooter in the building right now. It's like, but it's kind of funny, right?
To give you an example of that, I was sitting there walking the dog today, and I thought, if I had to do the whole fatherhood thing over again, right about the time that after the kid had the talk and are aware how people are created in the whole 9 yards, I would constantly make jokes about, oh, you're just mad because I'm fucking your mom, do that shit like all the time. And, just be sitting there and be like, hey, who I fucked last night? Your mom. It would just be just a barrage of that shit jokes all the time.
Yeah. Right.
I fucked your mom. She was all like, give it to me.
Give it to me, my son's daddy.
Yeah. Whatever the opposite of an Oedipus complex is, I think you found it right
there. Yeah, the darker the humor, the better. And which, again, a fun study or theory that I read was that people with ADHD prefer dark, fucked up humor because regular humor doesn't entertain us because it's very cookie cutter, or like we already know what the joke's going to be half the time.
Yep.
And I thought about that, and it's true. Like a lot of times I know where a punchline is going at the very beginning of the joke. I'm the same way with movies. By the end of the first act, I already know what's going to happen. And my favorite movies are the ones that fuck me up. And my favorite jokes or comedy bits are the ones where they fuck me up. And they just come out with something just horrible and vulgar. And I go, wow, my brain couldn't even begin to fucking fathom where you were going with that. It takes a lot to shock me. Things will happen in the world and people say, oh my God, I'm so shocked. Aren't you shocked? I'm like, no, people are fucking terrible. I mean, how can you be shocked when someone goes in and kills a bunch of people or does? No, I'm not shocked. I hate it. I'm disgusted by it. I'm pissed off, but shocked? Nah. If somebody told me that, Joel Osteen was a fucking child molester, I'd be like, I see it. Have you ever seen his haircut? I'm just saying. So that's a child molester haircut.
Anytime there's a heinous act or some ridiculous act of violence and people are like, aren't you shocked? I'm like, you know what? I felt like doing this a lot. Every now and then I just want to walk in somewhere just spraying. But
Adam, remember when we discussed there were things we probably shouldn't talk about on the podcast? remember that?
I'm like, no, I'm not shocked. Because
and true. I'm same here.
Well, it's kind of like the place where I work. And it's, I have intrusive thoughts like everybody else, but it's not like intrusive, like, hey, I need to shove this knife in my neck or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, for instance, the place where I work, they have a badge-based security system. And they were doing some renovations, and there were some things that were enabled and some things that were disabled as far as badge access. You didn't even have to badge in certain spots. And my first thought was, well, if you don't have to badge in to get on the elevators to get to the floor, because motion sensors have a well-known flaw. If you puff some smoke or anything else at them, it'll interpret that as movement and open a door. So if you've got a door that's badge on one side and then the other side just opens with you walking up to it, one of the things that people do is they have this it's like spray smoke to test smoke detectors, and you can even get that with a little straw in it so you can direct it. So it's like, my first thought was, well, hell, all somebody would have to do is jump these turnstiles, get on the elevator, go up to the thing, stick the cam through the door, and then it's open season and whoever could just mow down whatever. And I had several people look at me like, do we need to call somebody?
Right. Why is your brain working this way?
Well, it's just, it does that.
Welcome to ADHD.
I watch a lot of like physical pen testers that gain access to where they're not supposed to. And this one guy's, he was talking about his favorite tool is a blow-up doll because he uses it to trigger the motion sensors on the other side of the door. So he would just push the blow-up doll through the fucking bottom of the door and then just leave the nozzle hanging out so you could blow it up and just blow it up enough until the
and wiggle it around.
Yeah, until the motion sensor went off. He's like, all right, now I'm in.
And Doug, I want to go back to something you said at the beginning where you said, I have intrusive thoughts like everybody else. I really hate to be the one to tell you this, but not everyone has intrusive thoughts. I do. Don't get me wrong. Mine get pretty fucking weird sometimes. But yeah, I'm learning that not everybody does. So we're a little weirder than we thought we were.
Yeah, Dan, when you told me that, I was kind of surprised.
No.
You were the first person that I heard that from. I was like,
No, I disagree. I don't believe you.
And the difference, and obviously there's different categories, but, and to give you another example of be glad I'm not a psychopath, when the Oklahoma Federal Building got blown up, and they immediately got on the news and started talking about high-powered explosives and the whole 9 yards. And I'm sitting there in a break room at the time with somebody else, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's a large explosion, but with enough diesel fuel and ammonium nitrate, you could do the same thing. You'd probably have to fill a truck up or something. And then when the news came out a day or two later, they asked me where I had been as far as they knew I was there. I was working with them, but I did get the sideways glance of, oh my fucking God.
Right.
It's just one of those things that my head does.
And mine does too. And I remember mentioning to psychiatrist or therapist, I've lost track, and she assured me that I'm not crazy because sometimes my intrusive thoughts bother me, and because they can be a little dark or they can be a little weird. Like you said, hey Dan, pick up that knife and stick it in your neck, and she said, if the thoughts bother you, you're probably not a psychopath. I was like,
probably not.
I mean, exactly. You can't ever be too sure. But she's like, yeah, psychopaths don't typically give a shit when a thought like that goes through their head, like I should just pick up this knife and stab this person in the face 3 or 4 times. They simply pick up the knife and stab the person 3 or 4 times. And I was like, oh, okay. And that made me feel a lot better about a lot of things. Same with, being raised by a narcissist, a true, medically diagnosed narcissist. You're going to pick up some narcissistic traits and behaviors. And I had, and I was bothered by that because as I read about narcissism and narcissists, I was like, oh no, I'm one, and I don't want to be one. They're shitty. I don't want to be a shitty person. And same thing, my therapist was She said, well, the thing is, Dan, is that a real narcissist doesn't ever identify themselves as a narc. They don't think they are, and wouldn't be bothered if they were, because that's just how they are. She said the fact that it repulses you is good. So I think that's probably the thin line between being a fucking psycho and just having intrusive thoughts, or just your brain being weird and doing what it wants to do, is that you don't act on any of it,
Well, it's also the reason why I solve problems quickly. It's
because you're a
because
psychopath.
no, because I think of what could cause this or how could this be done.
Oh, outside the box thinking, absolutely. And again, people with ADHD tend to be phenomenal troubleshooters, right? And what do all three of us do for a living? we either have or do troubleshoot things.
I'm a rapper.
You are a rapper, yes. You are troubleshooting.
Yes, he's a rapper. He encloses candy periodically.
Yes.
And if you tear him open, the candy will come out.
Really? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wish I'd have known that when you were out here.
Yeah, reach right here in my pocket. I'll show you.
I do like some plain white boy candy. So I'm just saying, you heard it here first.
I'm troubleshooting the game.
You're troubleshooting the imbalance of white people in rap, is what you're doing. So,
Jesus,
and I think
Christ.
that's great. So I think that's great.
Yeah, the imbalance. Yes.
Yeah.
There's
There's
one
just
genre
not
they haven't.
enough middle class white kids from the Midwest in rap these days. If there's one thing SoundCloud needs, it is more white kids in rap. And I think that's what's gonna really push the genre to where it needs to be. Actually.
Next level, bro.
Absolutely, man.
Next level.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
Oh, I forgot I have my mic set to stereo, so I can go back and forth like this. Freak people out. So anyway.
Did you set it to cock or balls?
It just records in mono.
Does it record in mono? Oh, that's some bullshit. Wow.
Yeah, even the finished audio for the podcast is in mono.
It's in mono?
Yeah.
Our podcast has mono.
Our podcast.
That's no good. That's no good. I had mono. It's pretty crappy, actually.
Our podcast is not poly.
It could
it's
be.
Mono. Well,
2/3 of us are in Colorado, and
I'm kind of committed.
Close enough to Utah.
Right. Well, no, the dating scene, a buddy of ours, Robbie, we were discussing this about the dating scene in Colorado, and I ran across this when I was on the apps. The fucking poly /E&M, which for those of you who are not familiar with that abbreviation, it's ethically non-monogamous, meaning they're in a relationship, but they fuck around and it's ethical because their partner knows. Swingers, they used to call them swingers. Now it's ethically non-monogamous. So if it's got more syllables in it, it sounds more professional or appropriate or put together, I guess. And it was just tons of them, man. And like a lot of the women that I would get hit up by, oh, she's cute. Oh, she's funny. Like stuff. Oh, E&M, there it is. And I'm not necessarily looking to ever get married again or something, but when I date, I like to kind of date one-on-one, just, I feel like it's a waste of time.
Conversely, I don't know. There would not, other than a woman who is already in another relationship and I was her side fling, present that same option to any woman.
Yeah, they're out there. Oh, yeah, they're out there. There's plenty of men out there.
I'm going to date you, but I'm also going to fuck the entire neighborhood.
But that's the point of a woman being E&M, saying she's ethically non-monogamous, is that's exactly what she's doing. And she's okay with you doing it too. Yeah.
Oh, I completely understand, but that is a corner case, specific key lock scenario. But for general population of ladies, if you told them, I'm going to date you, but I'm going to also screw everyone in my entire neighborhood, they would be, see you later, I hate cheaters, yada, yada, yada.
I would tell you that if you were in Colorado, or if you were dating in Colorado, that I'm not sure that they are the minority, or at least they're the ones on the apps and doing that kind of thing are not the minority.
There might be some bias on
right because they
things
are on
that you download to get fucked.
Right, they are on dating apps, hookup apps. Absolutely. But I understand where you're coming from, Doug. Is that I think the majority. I don't think the majority of people are into that. Right. That.
Well, I don't think if you have a woman who's in a I mean, she's not going to be on the app if she's married and isn't trying to cheat.
Exactly.
Touche. That is
so
fair.
It's
like I said, there may be some bias
sample
there.
size.
Right. Yeah. Skewed sample size. I would agree with that. I can't disagree with that.
Yeah, I get what Doug's saying. Like biologically, women are wired to be monogamous.
Yeah, and men definitely are not.
Yes.
But psychologically, I am. Physically, no, I'm probably not. I can be in a committed relationship. I was married for 15 years. I was very happy for the majority of it. But I would still see physically attractive women and think, yeah, I'd bury my face in dirty places with her, But psychologically, I like monogamy. I like building that relationship with one person. That's fun and fulfilling for me. So the idea of, because I dated a girl and found out that she was poly E&M, fucked up, whatever you want to call it. And
after?
Yeah, after.
Oh no.
Yeah. Exactly. So she swears that she wasn't seeing anybody else while we were dating. But yeah, we got kind of into a conversation about it and I found out and I was like, oh, well, we're done then. Which she thought was totally a dick move. And I'm like, well, we're not going to click with that. Right. And at some point,
if you don't like pizza and we go to a pizza place,
there you go.
You're not going to eat there. If you don't fucking like it, you don't need to fucking force yourself in. People are stupid.
I agree. And what's the point in me getting invested in you if at some point you're going to meet some guy and tell me, hey, I want to go fuck this guy and not just fuck him, but actually build a relationship with him and have a relationship with him. I think it's greedy. I think it's, it shows a lack of ability to commit.
I don't think it's greedy. I disagree.
You don't think it's greedy?
No. I think people have, so like, this is going to sound bad. I think, there's like a sliding scale of like sociopathy. Like there's full blown sociopaths and then there's people that have issues with empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that don't necessarily like committing or whatever. And that's their preference.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it makes you greedy if you don't, I don't know, if you don't necessarily want to be in like a committed relationship with one person.
So you don't think it's kind of a cake and eat it too scenario?
No, because like, would you want to do that?
Would I want to do that? No.
Yeah. See, it's what you want.
So you could say I'm greedy because I want you all to myself.
Well, I don't think anyone's greedy. I just think that you want to do that because it's what you want to do,
mm-hmm.
not necessarily because it's objectively right.
Okay, yeah, I guess objectively there really is. Objectively, there really is no right or wrong when it comes to that. I guess.
I think.
Yeah, and
people
that's
like
true.
What they like.
Yeah, if you're into it and your partner's into it, that's fine. But if you know somebody's not into it, you should not engage in a relationship with them. Or at least you need to be, you need to be upfront with them. You need to be upfront with them and say, hey, this is the thing I'm into, and let them decide from there. What they want to do, So
she never told you until like way later.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. See, that part's fucked up.
Yeah. So, and it was like, okay. But yeah, for me, it's an investment when you're dating somebody. For me, like I said, I can only speak from my own experience.
I'm the same way.
It's an investment. So if I'm not going to invest in you, if it's like a commodity, right? And things are cheap because there's a lot of them and everyone has them. So if you're dating a lot of people, and again, this is my personal opinion, if you're dating a lot of people and you're building these intimate relationships with everyone, then to me, that kind of devalues your intimacy because you're not very particular about, or maybe you are, but whatever. It just feels like if I'm sharing you with 8 other dudes, I'm not
and you're only
sure
getting
that
1/8 of the person.
that's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are those that would call me like narrow-minded, closed-minded, that it's the patriarchy and all that stupid shit. It's like, no, it's just kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. Having a preference is not allowed these days.
No, it's not.
It depends on what side of the equation you're on.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
The whole woke crew has gone too far. I've got a lot of friends that are conservative, and I've got some friends that are liberal. I don't have a ton of folks that I know of in my life that are like super woke. And it's funny because I'll joke about, I'll joke about liberals or about people being woke, and my conservative friends are like, yeah, fuck yeah. And they'll start going on. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I got some for you too, bud. Hold up,
Yeah. That
because I'm
was the
very down the
left
middle.
hook. You're like, that was the left jab. Now time for the right hook.
Yeah, now I'm going to set you up for the cross.
Yeah.
It's just not that's cut and dry because I don't like the ultra conservatives that are whatever, and then I don't like the super woke groups either, where you feel like you can't have an opinion that differs from theirs. They want to tell everybody that they have a right to have a different opinion than everybody because that's America or whatever. But then the minute you have a different opinion than them, they lose their fucking minds and become screaming, angry children.
That's called inclusivity.
Inclusivity.
Yeah. When you bully people for not believing what you believe. Inclusivity.
I don't. Wait. Hold on. Wait.
It's that, and the interesting thing is, obviously there are some things that I'm, as long as we're in the neighborhood of reason, I'm cool. But once we've got to, go way, way, way outside the norm. It's not so much that like I get pissed off about it. It's just the thought that goes through my head is really. But here's the thing about society. Society and social norms are continually on the move. And the thing that's going to be interesting, as long as they're trying to win the fucking woke Olympics, or they're trying to be the wokest human being that they can, society is going to continue to march on. And pronouns and all of the everything else 40 years from now will seem cute. So when a lot of these people, there are fucking octogenarians retiring, what have you, they're going to be offended by something that's done by the people that come after them. And just the realization of that, I kind of find hilarious. And I'm just sort of kicking back and waiting to see where this shit winds up. I think it'll be funny.
So let me ask you a question. I'll throw a topic out there and we'll discuss it. Your boy, Rick DeSantis, who I am not a fan of, just in general.
It's not my boy, but I believe his name's Ron. But
is continue. It Ron DeSantis? Whatever. See, that just goes to show you. I thought it was
how
Rick.
much you keep up with shit.
Exactly. So he passed, or is trying to pass, that "Don't Say Gay" bill in Florida.
That's art. That's in the books and done.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
See, Doug keeps up on current news, and I don't at all.
Just so what is the "Don't Say Gay" bill? I've heard a little bit about it.
Basically, it's to prevent teachers from discussing gender
things. The short version is it's an anti woke school based legislation kind of thing about all these subjects are taboo and yada yada, and they, but this is brought to you by the same folks that are showing up to school board meetings saying, yeah, have you read this one passage in this one book that I find offensive, and read things out of context and the whole nine yards. And
yeah, they basically
it's just reverse snowflakes. I mean, because these are the
they are
same people that
snowflakes.
yeah. Exactly. But it's just 180 degrees out of phase. They talk about, oh, I say this, and these people get all offended. But meanwhile, you bring up a subject that's contrary to what they believe, and they fly off the fucking handle as well. But it's interesting to watch all of this stuff play out. I've been particularly amused by Ron DeSantis's war with Disney, and
I did hear about that.
I think, well, the thing that's funny to me about that, he's sort of made them his screw you pet project. You're talking about the people that are in the media business for a living, have a sizable amount of cash on hand, large
So he's
corporations.
not at war with just Disney World. He's at war with like the corporation. Like,
Exactly. And
oh no.
the thing that's amusing to me about that is, I wonder how many, when campaign time comes around, I wonder how many things Disney is going to back end fund and produce as far as political campaigns and the whole commercials, social media campaigns, and the whole nine yards. Because let's face it, Disney knows how to promote. I'm not
That they do.
terribly a fan of their product at
No, but if
all,
they were
not
to get
because of
behind
some
someone,
woke agenda. I just think
yeah,
they don't know what to do with their properties, and they're in a
you're just
in a
pissed off
mode.
because they bought Doctor Who.
And Star Wars and Marvel and all of
Yeah.
these stuff that were.
At what point does the trust busting come through on shit like that?
I don't know.
Like Disney owns every fucking thing now.
But
Yeah.
nowadays you don't see that like they did with Ma Bell back in, with the 80s, I think. And so you don't see as much antitrust as you used to, right? And for those that don't know, antitrust is basically right when a company like AT&T came in and they owned pretty much, if you picked up a phone, you were going over lines and shit that were owned by AT&T, and nobody could get in underneath that, right? And Disney's getting that way with networks and with streaming companies. They own fucking everything, and they're just pushing other companies out. Amazon with small businesses.
Wasn't there
Yeah,
that
you
big
don't see that
scandal where
much anymore,
like
do you?
wasn't there a big scandal where either Bell, I think it was Bell, they were sending like a they were sending like a shock down the fucking phone line to fry your phone
Oh, I
if
don't
you
know.
didn't. Yeah, they put like some kind of like resistor in the
Mm-hmm.
circuitry of their phone, so if you bought it from them, it wouldn't fry it.
Oh, okay.
And any third party phone would just fucking fry. They just send it down the line every
Yeah,
now and then.
that wouldn't
Well,
surprise me because
what's
when it rings, you get 40
yeah, it's a
volts.
voltage ramp, but that's been
And then they'd
there
be like, if you had our
forever.
phone, this wouldn't have happened. It's the approved phone
It's the
for our
approved
phone
phone.
line. Yeah, it was. I was reading something about that, but
It wouldn't shock me at all, honestly. And to go back, because I brought this up, so I feel like I should clarify this. The don't say gay bill, which is not, it's called the Parental Rights and Education Bill, but in a nutshell, it's classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. So
I kind
I'm
of
going to go ahead
agree.
and say this, right? And people know that again, I'm kind of up the middle. Maybe I tend to run in the liberal category because I really just don't give a fuck what you do with your body or your time or money. But I'm going to say this: I'm actually okay with this bill, because what it really boils down to is teachers. I don't see any reason for teachers to be discussing this anyway. Especially not kindergarten to third grade. People say, well, it's going to hurt the LGBTQ kids, because they don't feel included, going back to your inclusivity. But why are we even, that's for parents to discuss and decide, right?
And
They don't.
Now,
it's like,
I'm so confused.
I,
If you,
I can agree with that up to a point. The part where it became interesting to me was when Disney piped up and said, "We don't support this,"
mhm.
and they were against it the whole 9 yards, and it was sort of a weird delayed reaction thing as
Well, because
far
the
as
gay community loves Disney World.
right. Well, the people at the top, um, they were basically just sitting on the sidelines of the issue. And it was weirdly enough the Disney employees who pushed and pushed and pushed and
Mm-hmm.
pushed and pushed and pushed until he finally came out and said something. And then, as soon as he did, it seemed like Ron was just sitting around waiting for this shit, and then just grabbed it and ran with it, to the point of, kind of a straw man thing. Uh, where
Well, and
as
it is,
opposed to, I'm
and I
doing
think you hit the
all of
nail
this
on the head.
bullshit on the side,
Right.
but I'm just going to make a big noise about Disney because that's going to resonate with the audience that I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
corner. And,
Mm-hmm.
and and that's exactly what it was. I am just curious to see how all of this plays
That's going to
out.
play out, right? So, Adam, what are you said you're confused. What are you confused about?
yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any wording that disproportionately affects anyone talking about like homosexual
Mm-hmm.
sex. It
Nope.
sounds like they can't talk about any sex,
No, they don't want you to talk about
but you
sexual
probably shouldn't
orientation or
shouldn't be talking about sex with
between
your third graders.
kindergarten and third grade if the parent isn't. That's something that a parent should be talking to their kids about. Now, I will say this: if a third grader walks up to their teacher and says, hey, I think I'm gay, and this would be much for a third grader, right? I didn't realize it was up to
Yeah, no
third grade
shit.
like that. If they said, hey, I'm gay and my mommy beats me because I'm gay or some shit like that, like, because again, I think some people are gay and I think people are gay at birth. And I think it's a genetic thing. It's a brain thing. It just is what it is, right? I don't think it's a choice or a lifestyle or Satan or anything like that. Um, but really, right? Why are we discussing gender and um, sexual orientation with kindergartens, first, second, third graders? And it's just, I think, and this goes back to a long-winded theory I've had for a long time. Um, People, what's wrong with America? America's changed, and the fabric of America and all that. And we
It's
want to blame all of these things. But to me, one of the things that we never talk about is the fact that in the late 80s and 90s, we started to ship a lot of our manufacturing jobs overseas, right? So that these corporations could make gajillions of dollars
mhm.
and use slave labor, basically. So when they did that, you didn't have the same family structure that you did through the atomic age of the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, when typically mom stayed at home, raised a couple of kids, dad went out and worked and made enough money that if you clipped coupons and made dinner at home and stuff like that, you could do. You can't fucking do that now, right? Mom and dad both have to work in most scenarios. I know of one or two of my friends that mom stays at home, right? Um, but when you do that, because I became a latchkey kid when I was about 10, 11 years old. Prior to that, my mom was at home. And I assure you that that's when I started getting into trouble. Not bad trouble, but, you know, messing around, finding shit I wasn't supposed to find, things like that. So what happens is that then schools and teachers become almost like a surrogate parent because fuck, you're with them more than you are your own parents through the day. Your parents get home, they're exhausted. It's like, here's dinner. I'm going to go pass out on the couch, which I can appreciate that nowadays. you know, I feel that. Uh, so I think that has a lot to do with, and we're one of the few countries that are they're kind of like that. I mean, they're out there. Don't get me wrong, but our family structure in this country, at 18, we're like kick the fucking kids out. In a lot of countries, the 18-year-old kid lives with the parents who are living with the grandparents, right? The parents and everybody raises the family and everybody contributes, etc. And here we all want our independence. We all want to be out on our own, which don't get me wrong, I love, right? But I think when little Johnny all of a sudden didn't have anybody at home and the teachers, the school systems were basically raising our children, not my children, because I wasn't dumb enough to have any. Um, hey, ask Doug, he'll tell you.
Eh,
I think that
Adam's my adopted kid.
there you go, exactly. When that started to happen, right, then there's a lot of pressure on these teachers. And let's face it, man, most teachers tend to be liberal. Not all, but I would say the majority of them, right? And I do not believe in indoctrination in the sense of these people are trying to turn kids gay, right? I just don't think, because I don't think you can turn anybody gay. Just like you can't make a gay kid straight, right?
I
Um,
disagree. I think you can turn kids gay.
you think you can turn kids gay?
Yeah, I was speaking to. I'm not even trolling. I was talking to.
I can tell because I don't hear your cheeks up by your ears when you say that.
I was talking to someone who's gay. We talk a lot about gayness,
Mm-hmm.
for lack of a
Mm-hmm.
better term.
Sure.
And I asked him one day. I was like, "Do you think it's nature or nurture?" And he said, "I think it's a little bit of both." He's like, "I
Mm-hmm.
think at some point, like you're born maybe with the predisposition to be
Mm-hmm.
gay, and then maybe at some point there's some triggering event that sort of turns you. But I guess it would have to
Triggering
be done.
or traumatic?
Eh, I guess it depends on what it is.
Because I probably know who you're referring to, and I'd actually like to talk to them myself about that. It would be curious to know because I've had this conversation with other gay males, not with any
Yeah,
gay females, though. I would love to have that conversation with them as well, as to whether or not there was a traumatic. Um,
I have heard that anecdotally from other people, but
mhm.
this particular person, I don't think, as far as they know, anything like
Right,
that happened.
right.
But
That they can remember or consciously
yeah,
remember. Little EMDR might bring out some demons. Um,
yeah,
but what was interesting is the gay men that I have spoken to. I think the majority, if not all of them, did relate a sexually traumatic story to me.
yeah,
And it was usually homosexual in nature, and so that that's a whole nother, like the whole concept of homosexuality to me is there's a lot there. There's just a lot fucking there, man.
Well,
I've heard that same thing from enough people that I think you can turn somebody gay.
But do you think you can turn them gay just by discussing it and being like, maybe you're gay,
No, 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 no,
Johnny?
no,
I
no.
mean, I
But
think
I don't
every
think it's 100% genetic. That's all I'm saying.
fair enough. That's fair. Yeah, because I'm not sure that I do either. I said you're born gay, but I think I probably believe closer to what you said. I believe you have the disposition that there's a genetic thing there, and some some men, if they have some sort of homosexual trauma, are going to fall into that, but then some
Yeah,
don't. You know.
I, I mean, I think there is a nature nurture component, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it's. Uh, I don't. I mean, obviously there are going to be corner case fringe examples that we could get into. So this is not for me like this is always the case, but I kind of think it's sort of like Chinese food. So
Exactly
Doug
what
and
I was
his,
thinking.
I mean, I was just like, when I think of,
you weren't
sucking dick, I think of Mugu Gai Pan.
when you were born. You didn't have a genetic predisposition to Chinese food. You saw some Chinese food, or somebody else was eating Chinese food, and then you tried some Chinese food, and then you're like, wow, I really like Chinese food. So, I mean, I think that uh, for a large part of it, yes, there's going to be some sort of genetic component to it. Obviously, we don't know what it is yet. I think that's one of those things that AI is going to help us discover over time. But people are a lot more experimental these days with, I want to try this, I want to try that. Back when we were coming up, things were a little more vertical. And even if you go back farther than us, you had the dad that had one job, and then it may have been the local coal mine or what have you, and then the kid grows up and they work in the coal mine,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. And there started to be a little bit more breaking of that around the time that we came around, as far as the time I was born in the 70s. But I think the personal ownership and exploration is a little bit more than what it was in
It's
the
a little
old
more,
days.
yeah, it's a little more
Right.
socially acceptable, right?
Right.
I
As
mean,
far, but hey, if you were had sort of looked at a guy's ass and thought that it looked cute and the whole nine
mm-hmm.
yards, and you got a chance to try that one day and you found out that you liked it, I imagine there's people that have gone both ways with that. Hey, I think I might like to, and then after they do, they're like, no, never doing that again.
You don't
The
want
whole
any of
9
this,
yards.
Dewey.
Right. But
Zip.
sorry.
Right. Right. There's, I think it was, what was the name of that show on Netflix? Big Mouth. It's an animated show about kids going through puberty, and it's fucking hilarious. And they explore the idea of, or the concept of kids questioning their sexuality, which I know I did when I was about 12 or 13. I thought I might be gay for a while, because pretty much anything would give me a boner. Like, it just didn't matter.
That's
Books
called
gave me
being a young
boners.
man.
Exactly, right? But, right, you'd see a dude doing something, and it was like, oh, boner. And I was like, oh, God, I'm gay. Um, I'm not gay. I've had many gay men say, how do you know if you haven't tried? My answer was, how do you know I haven't tried? And that used to shut them up pretty quick. Um, but so I do definitely understand the concept of kids questioning their sexuality, because I think all kids do. It's the hormone imbalances and I've got a buddy that's got a 17-year-old, 18-year-old male now, and he's always like, Jesus Christ, this kid. And I'm like, brother, just remember, he's a teenager. He's fucking insane, right? It's like somebody sneaks up on him with a syringe full of drugs and just goes, stab. There you go, buddy. And he gets to run through that for a while, and then
Isn't
fall
there
off
like a
of it.
puberty monster on Big Mouth?
Yes, a hormone
Yeah,
monster. Yeah, the
hormone
hormone
monster.
monsters. Because the old dude's hormone monster is about to die at any minute. Um, it's really a great show. I love it. I know you weren't a big fan, but
Nah, I'm not.
I thought it was hilarious. And they explore the idea of these kids, thinking they're gay or questioning whether or not they're gay or whatever, but not in a nothing on that show. I think the one thing I like about that show is how, for as vulgar and disgusting and hilarious as it is, they still do it kind of in an odd, tasteful manner. Like, at no point they discuss sex
It's
with.
not in your face.
Yeah. I mean, you've got 10-year-olds talking about sex and 11-year-olds talking about sex, but at no time do you feel like they are being sexualized. I think Nick Kroll and the crew have done a really good job making fun of it without it being creepy, and it is hard to discuss the sexuality of kids and teenagers without it at times feeling a little pedo. You know, I have seen movies and TV shows where I was like, I see what they're trying to do, but this is making me uncomfortable. All right. And that's not easy to do.
Like Kids. You ever watch Kids?
We were just talking about Kids the other day. We were discussing, one of the guys that works in the office with me he was discussing that his kid's like 10 and, she's talking about wanting a cell phone. And he's like, I want to trust her and I want her to see that I trust her and all that. But there's a lot of shit out there. And we were just discussing experiences and stuff. And he says, man, what really kind of like set me straight? He said it was this movie. And I was like, oh yeah, what was it? He goes, Kids. And I'm like, no, oh God, yes. I got all excited because, and we start talking about it and people are like, what movie? And it's, we're all in our 40s and 50s and we'd be like, Kids. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, that movie fucked me up. And it was like, yes. If you've never seen it, it's Kids, Kids, and it's by Gus Van Sant, I think.
I think that's right, yeah.
Phenomenal movie, low budget, gritty, in your face. But it's got some really powerful fucking messages in it. And yeah, so I love talking to anybody. That's one of those movies I'm an apostle of. I tell everybody, like when your kid hits about 13 or 14, sit them down and make them watch this. So, but yeah, then again,
it's actually a really good idea.
Make them watch that and they just be like, yeah, now what do you want to do? Nothing. I'm going to go to my room now.
I really don't want to do anything.
I'm going to go play video games. Oh, but I mean, I couldn't imagine being a parent nowadays either and having a kid that's 12 years old and wants a cell phone. I mean, my kid's cell phone would be locked down like a motherfucker. But
I give him the fucking North Korea phone.
Dad,
where you can't do anything.
Right. Get him
You're gonna get him a jitterbug.
Jitterbug. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Get him a jitterbug. Yeah. I mean, it's inevitable, but all of that stuff is inevitable. And yes, they're gonna go find porn, and yes, they're gonna see shit that scars them forever. That's called life, and you cannot protect them from that. Your job as a parent is to keep them alive and try to keep them as sane as you can until they choose to leave. Yes, you can instill them or indoctrinate them with your beliefs and your thoughts. That's on you, but you can't protect them from everything. And I know it's easy to say, Dan, you're not a fucking parent. Maybe I'd be a lousy parent.
Protect them from everything.
But you can't.
No matter how hard you try.
There you go. And Doug's a parent, so haha, fuck you all.
Now
I can say the N-word.
No, that's not how it works. But
I've got a friend who's a parent.
Yeah, you do the best you can to give them the tools that they need to succeed, but no matter how much you try, you can't really rig the outcome of the game. You can't, no matter what you independently do, you cannot influence the end result. All you can do is help. And sometimes, just like everything else in your life, you can put in all the work, do everything that you can, and it still turns out shitty. And that doesn't matter if it's kid raising or building a fucking bird box, or a birdhouse. It happens.
So I think what Doug is trying to say is, if at first you don't succeed, suck harder.
Yeah. Take us out, Adam.
When you love someone, you've got to trust them. There's no other way. You've got to give them the key to everything that's yours.
I forgot I left the movie clip in here.
What's the point?
We're going to get sued.
For a while.
They're going to take everything.
That's the kind of love I had.
All $5.
Yeah, good shit.